The sky above Earth was not blue anymore. It was filled with smoke, fire, and the heavy shadow of alien ships. Once, Earth was full of life and dreams. Children used to play in the fields, families used to laugh together, and cities were bright with lights. But now, the cities were broken, the oceans were poisoned, and the world stood on the edge of silence. The galaxy had already decided one truth. Humanity would be the last species to die. Other civilizations had already fallen. Strong species with powerful weapons, giant creatures with endless strength, and empires older than human history, all had been crushed by the alien alliance that ruled the stars. But still, humans stood. Weak, small, fragile, yet still refusing to kneel. In the ruins of New York, smoke rose high into the sky. A young soldier named Eric stood on the broken walls, watching the alien ships in orbit. He knew the truth. Earth could not survive another attack. But still, in his heart, there was a fire that no alien could kill. The leaders of humanity gathered in secret halls, deep underground, away from the burning surface. They spoke in low voices, their faces filled with sorrow. "We cannot hide anymore," one of them said. "If we hide, we will die slowly. If we fight, maybe we die faster. But at least we die with honor." The silence in the room was heavy. Every man and woman there carried the weight of billions of lives. They knew one choice had to be made. Far away, in a hidden laboratory, scientists were listening to signals from deep space. The machines hummed, the screens glowed. Suddenly, a strange signal was found. It was not human. It was not from the alien empire either. It was something else, something unknown. The scientists looked at each other with fear and hope. Could this be a chance to survive? Or was it a trap waiting to end humanity forever? Back on the surface, families were saying their goodbyes. A mother hugged her little daughter in the ruins of their home. "Do not cry," she whispered. "Humans do not give up. We never give up." Her tears fell, but her voice was strong. That was the spirit of Earth. Even in the last dawn, humanity still believed in tomorrow. Eric walked through the broken streets, past burned cars and fallen towers. He saw his people, hungry, tired, hopeless, but still alive. He thought to himself, maybe this is why we are still standing. Maybe it is not our strength, but our will. Above the planet, alien generals watched with cold eyes. To them, humans were nothing but insects. One alien commander laughed and said, "Look at them. They are the last sparks of a dying fire. Soon, we will crush them, and the galaxy will forget they ever existed." But deep inside, there was fear. They had seen humans fight before. Humans did not surrender. They did not kneel. Even when broken, they rose again. And that made them dangerous. The secret signal kept calling. Some believed it was a weapon left behind by an ancient species. Others thought it was only a ghost in the stars. But one thing was clear. Humanity had no other choice. They had to follow it. The leaders made their decision. We will chase the signal. If it is hope, we will survive. If it is a trap, we will die fighting. That night, the people of Earth looked up at the red sky. Fire burned across the horizon, but in their hearts, a different fire was born. It was a fire of resistance. Eric raised his weapon, looking at the alien ships above. He whispered to himself, "We are humans. We are the last species standing. If they want us gone, they will have to fight until the last breath." The world was quiet, as if holding its breath. The dawn of Earth was fading, but a new dawn was waiting beyond the stars. And so, the first step of humanity's final journey began. But hidden in the darkness, the signal kept calling, louder, stronger, like a voice waiting to test the courage of mankind. Was it salvation or destruction? No one knew. But one truth was clear. The story of humanity was not over yet. The hidden chambers of Earth's last council were silent. Heavy stone walls surrounded the leaders, while far above, alien ships circled the sky like vultures waiting for death. The air inside the room was thick with fear, but deeper than fear was something else: determination. The strange signal discovered in Part 1 had shaken everyone. Some believed it was hope. Some believed it was death. But whatever it was, one thing was clear. Humanity could not stay still any longer. General Kalen, an old warrior with scars across his face, stood and spoke in a firm voice. "We have two paths," he said. "One path is to hide underground, waiting until the aliens burn every inch of this planet. The other path," he paused, looking at every person in the chamber, "is fire. We rise, we fight, and we take our chance, even if it means death." The room filled with whispers. Some leaders trembled. Some clenched their fists. A woman named Solara, the youngest voice among them, stepped forward. Her eyes burned with tears but also with steel. "If we hide, our children will grow up in darkness, waiting for death. If we fight, maybe they will see the stars again. I say we fight." Silence. Then, one by one, heads began to nod. Not because they believed they could win, but because humanity had never been a species that surrendered. Outside the chambers, the truth of war was already alive. Soldiers marched through broken streets, preparing weapons older than they were. Families cried as they packed what little food they had. A young boy clung to his father's arm. "Will you come back?" the boy asked. The father knelt, placing his hand gently on his son's shoulder. "I don't know," he whispered, "but I promise you this. I will fight so you can live." Tears fell, but the boy stood tall, as if his small heart understood the weight of sacrifice. Far above, in the black sky of space, alien generals watched the movement on Earth. One of them, a reptilian commander with golden eyes, laughed coldly. "Look at them," he hissed. "They prepare for war with broken weapons and empty stomachs. They are like ants throwing stones at the storm." Another alien, older and wiser, did not laugh. His voice was colder. "Ants can bite. Ants can sting. Do not underestimate humans. They have something no other species carries. They fight even when hope is gone." Back on Earth, Eric, the young soldier from Part 1, walked through the ruins of his home city. He carried his rifle, but his mind carried heavier things, memories. He remembered the laughter of his sister, who had died in the first invasion. He remembered his father's voice telling him, "We never bow." Eric's eyes burned with the fire of memory. He did not fight only for survival. He fought for every smile stolen, every dream destroyed. He fought because surrender was worse than death. In the secret laboratories, scientists worked without rest. The strange signals still echoed through space, calling them like a distant voice. The machines translated part of it, but the meaning was unclear. Some words seemed like coordinates. Some seemed like warnings. One scientist whispered, "It could lead us to a weapon, or it could lead us to our graves." Another replied, "We have no choice. If we stay, Earth dies. If we follow, maybe Earth lives." The leaders announced their decision to the people. The message spread across every broken city, every hidden shelter, every bunker beneath the ground. "We are the last species standing," the voice declared. "We will not die in silence. We will not kneel. We choose fire. We choose to fight. We choose to live." Across the planet, the reaction was powerful. People cheered through their tears. Children raised their hands, repeating the words. Soldiers lifted their weapons, ready for war. Even in the deepest darkness, a flame had been lit in the human heart. That night, the first fires of resistance were born. Old factories, once dead, came alive again, forging weapons from broken metal. Engineers built small ships from scraps, preparing to face the vast alien fleet. Farmers gave their last food to soldiers, saying, "Take this, fight for us." Eric stood on a rooftop, staring at the stars where the alien ships shine like predators. He whispered to himself, "You think we are weak. You think we are broken. But you will learn, fire burns brightest when darkness is strongest." And so, the choice was made. Humanity would not fade away quietly. They would rise, with fire in their hearts, and face the storm. But far in the distance, in the shadows of the galaxy, the signal pulsed louder, waiting, watching, drawing humanity closer to a fate unknown. Was it salvation or destruction? The choice of fire had been made. The flames of resistance had begun to spread, and the galaxy had just started to fade. The sky of Earth burned red as humanity prepared for its first strike. Across the ruined cities, people watched the night, waiting for the moment when history would either end or begin again. In secret hangars, deep beneath the ground, ships were ready. They were not beautiful ships of glory. They were patched with steel, powered by broken engines, and armed with weapons older than the soldiers who carried them. But they were ships built with desperate hands and burning hearts. General Kalen stood before the pilots. His voice was heavy but strong. You are going to face a fleet that believes you are already dead. You are going to fight giants with nothing but fire and courage. But remember this, we are not fighting only for ourselves. We fight for every child hiding in the dark, for every voice that was silenced, for every dream stolen. Tonight, we show the galaxy what it means to be human. The soldiers shouted as one. It was not a cry of power, it was a cry of defiance. Eric, the young soldier, sat inside his small fighter. His hands trembled on the controls, but his heart was steady. He whispered the same words he had spoken before. We never bow. The engines roared. One by one, the ships rose from the hidden launch tunnels, breaking through the smoke-filled clouds and into the black sea of space. Above them, the alien blockade waited. Massive warships with steel bodies like mountains, weapons glowing like suns. Their commanders laughed when they saw the small human fleet rising. Look at them, one alien sneered. Tiny sparks of fire. We will crush them in minutes. But when the first human ships broke through the atmosphere, something strange happened. They did not scatter. They did not run. They moved like a storm, small, fast, unpredictable. The battle began. Alien cannons lit the sky with fire. Explosions shook the darkness. One human ship was torn apart instantly, vanishing in a bowl of flame. But instead of breaking, the rest pushed harder. Eric's fighter weaved through the burning debris, his eyes locked on the enemy. His voice was calm, steady, target ahead, firing now. His small missile launched, striking an alien cruiser. The explosion ripped across the enemy's shields. It did not destroy the ship, but it left a scar. And for the first time, the galaxy saw something unthinkable. A human strike had hurt them. The aliens grew silent for a moment. Then their anger filled the void. Destroy them all, their commander roared. The battle turned into chaos. Human ships moved like shadows, too small to hit, too fast to predict. They darted through enemy fire, striking again and again. Every human ship lost was a tragedy, but every alien ship damaged was a miracle. On the ground, people watched the burning sky. Children in shelters cheered when they saw enemy ships fall. Mothers prayed with trembling lips, whispering, "Hold on, please hold on." In the middle of the fight, Eric's ship was struck. Warning alarm screamed. Smoke filled the cockpit. His vision blurred, but he refused to let go. He forced his ship forward, heading straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. "Eric, pull back!" his commander's voice shouted in his ear. But Eric only smiled through the blood on his lips. "If I fall, let it be a strike they never forget." He fired his last missile, then turned his damaged ship into a living weapon. With one final cry, he rammed into the alien destroyer. The explosion shook space itself. The massive ship split in two, burning as it fell toward Earth's atmosphere. Silence followed. For a heartbeat, even the alien froze. A single human soldier had just destroyed a ship 10 times larger than his own. On the ground, the people screamed in joy and in grief. Eric's name echoed through the shelters. His sacrifice became more than death. It became hope. The aliens pulled back for the first time. Their commanders were shaken. One whispered in fear, "They are not supposed to fight like this. They are supposed to be afraid." But humans were never afraid. Not when their home was burning. Not when the galaxy wanted them gone. The first battle of humanity was not a victory in numbers. They lost many ships, and the ground was still scarred with fire. But it was a victory of spirit. A message had been written across the stars. Humanity will fight. Humanity will not kneel. Humanity will burn like fire until the last breath. Back in the underground chamber, General Kalen spoke to his people. His voice was broken with sorrow for the dead, but strong with pride. "Tonight, we have shown the galaxy that humans are not insects. We are not shadows. We are fire, and fire spreads." Far away, the signal from space grew louder. It pulsed like a heartbeat, as if answering the courage of mankind. Something waited in the dark, watching their first battle. But was it friend or enemy? The question would remain. For now, humanity had survived its first true war in the stars, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The ashes of the first battle still floated in the skies of Earth. Families mourned the dead, but their tears carried a new strength. Humanity had survived the impossible. They had faced the strongest empire in the galaxy and had not been erased. For the first time in centuries, the universe had seen something it thought impossible, humans fighting back. But the war was far from over. Alien fleets still surrounded Earth. Their anger was stronger now, their pride wounded. They wanted to crush humans completely. Inside a hidden command base, General Kalen stood over the holographic map. The red lines of alien control stretched across half the galaxy. There seemed no place for humans to run. But then there was a whisper. The mysterious signal, the same one that had haunted humanity since the beginning, grew louder. This time, scientists were able to trace its path. It was coming from a distant system, far beyond enemy lines. And there was something more, data hidden inside the signal. Coordinates, messages, and voices. The voices were not human. They were weak, broken, begging for help. "They are prisoners," whispered Solara, the young leader, another species enslaved by the alien empire. For a moment, silence filled the room. Everyone knew the truth. Humanity was already fighting for survival. They had little food, little strength, and their own home was under attack. Helping others seemed impossible. But then Kalen spoke, his voice sharp as iron. "If we are to be the last species standing, let us stand not as conquerors, but as liberators. If we free them, we may win allies. If we leave them, we are no better than the monsters we fight." And so, humanity made a choice once again. This time, not only to fight for themselves, but to fight for others. Eric's name still burned in every soldier's heart. His sacrifice in the first battle was remembered. Young pilots whispered his last words, "We never bow." It became their anthem. Now, as the fleet prepared to follow the signal, they carried his spirit with them. The journey was long and dangerous. Human ships moved through asteroid fields and silent ruins of fallen worlds. They saw planets burned into glass, civilizations erased without mercy. Every sight only strengthened their resolve. Finally, they reached the source of the signal, a dark world wrapped in chains of steel. Orbiting stations acted as prisons, holding entire species in cages. Millions of alien slaves were forced to build weapons for the Empire, their cries echoing into space. The human soldiers watched in silence, their fists clenched, their hearts heavy. This is what they do to the galaxy," one whispered. General Kalen gave the order, "Break their chains." The battle began. Human ships, small but fast, struck the prison stations like arrows of fire. Explosions shook the night as guards scrambled to respond. Alien slavers laughed at first, until the first chain was cut. The slaves looked up from their cages, eyes wide with disbelief. No one had ever come for them. No one had ever fought for them. But here, against all reason, came the humans, armed with old weapons, with broken ships, but with unshakable will. One by one, the cages fell. The slaves poured out, their voices crying not in fear, but in freedom. Tears ran down alien faces as they realized humans were risking their lives not to enslave them, but to free them. Solara stood among the freed captives, her hands raised. "We are not here to rule you," she said. "We are here because no one deserves chains. We fight for our world. Now, you are free to fight for yours." The aliens, once broken, now stood tall beside the humans. They had found something they thought was lost forever, hope. When news of the prison's fall spread across the galaxy, whispers began to grow. Whispers of humans not as prey, not as victims, but as warriors who carried not only fire, but mercy. The alien empire trembled. For the first time, their slaves were rebelling. For the first time, their chains were breaking. And all of it began with the species they had sworn to erase. Back on Earth, the people wept with pride when they heard the message. Humanity had not only survived, they had freed others. The children in the shelters spoke new words. "We fight for all, not just for us." But even in this victory, shadows remained. The mysterious signal that had guided them to the prison did not end. It continued, pulsing deeper into the galaxy as if calling humanity to an even greater trial. Solara stood alone in the command chamber, listening to the endless signal. She whispered to herself, "Is this truly hope, or are we walking into a trap?" Far away, in the depths of space, alien commanders gathered. Their voices were filled with fear and hatred. "These humans are dangerous," one said. "They do not conquer. They inspire. That is far worse." The chains were broken. The fire of freedom had spread. But the darkest storm was yet to come. The galaxy trembled. News of the broken chains had spread faster than fire. Whispers of humans freeing the enslaved reached even the farthest corners of space. To many, it was hope. To the alien empire, it was shame. And shame turned into rage. The High Council of the Alien Alliance gathered in a fortress above a dead star. Generals of many species, old and cruel, spoke with one voice. "The humans are disease, a small flame that dares to burn against the storm. If left unchecked, they will inspire rebellion across the galaxy. They must be destroyed completely." For the first time in centuries, enemies united. The alien fleet, once divided, now became one great force, larger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Their target was clear: Earth. On Earth, the warning came too late. The night sky split open as thousands of alien ships entered orbit. Their weapons glowed like suns, turning the heavens red. Cities trembled, oceans boiled, and mountains cracked under the weight of their fire. The invasion had begun. In the underground shelters, families huddled together. Children cried as the ground shook above them. A mother pressed a child to her chest and whispered, "Do not be afraid, even if the sky falls. We are human, and humans do not bow." Her voice was strong, but her eyes were full of tears. On the surface, soldiers fought desperately. Human fighters launched into the burning skies, but the enemy fleet was endless. For every alien ship destroyed, 10 more appeared. Eric's name was shouted on the battlefield. Pilots cried it as they charged, remembering his sacrifice. His spirit lived on, guiding their courage. But even courage could not stop the firestorm. General Kalen stood in the command bunker, his eyes fixed on the burning horizon. His face was carved with grief. "They are throwing everything at us," he said. "This is not a battle. This is an execution." Beside him, Solara clenched her fists. "Then let us die as humans," she replied. "Standing, not kneeling." The alien fleets began their ground assault. Cities turned into craters. Rivers boiled into steam. The great capital of Earth, once a symbol of human unity, now burned under alien fire. The screams of its people echoed through the night. Everywhere, the same question filled the air. Was this the end? The darkest hour had come. In the laboratories, scientists worked frantically. Hidden deep beneath the Earth, they had been building something not meant to be used unless humanity faced its final breath. A weapon, yes, but not of destruction alone. It was a creation born of desperation and hope. The Aegis Project. It was not complete. It was unstable. It could save them or destroy them. Solara entered the lab, her face pale with smoke and ash. "Is it ready?" she demanded. The chief scientist shook his head. "It is too dangerous. If we unleash it now, it could tear apart not just the enemy, but us as well." Solara's voice hardened. "If we do nothing, we die anyway. If we use it, maybe, just maybe, we survive." Outside, the battle grew worse. Human soldiers fought in the ruins of cities, hand to hand, refusing to surrender even when outnumbered. A young soldier, bleeding and broken, stood against a towering alien warrior. His voice shook as he raised his weapon. "For Earth," he whispered, and then he fell, but not before striking the alien down. All across the world, stories like this were born. Small acts of defiance, small sparks of fire in endless darkness. But sparks were not enough. The alien commanders laughed as their victory neared. "The humans bone well," one said coldly. "Soon there will be nothing left but ash." Yet, in the command bunker, Solara looked at General Kalen. Her eyes were fierce, unbroken. "This is our darkest hour," she said. "But darkness is where fire burns brightest. It is time to unleash the Aegis." Kalen hesitated. He knew the cost. He knew the risk. But he also knew there was no other choice. "Do it," he said. Deep underground, the scientists began the activation. Machines roared, lights blazed, and the earth itself seemed to tremble. The Aegis woke, its power humming like the heartbeat of a god. Above the planet, alien ships suddenly paused. They sensed something. Something ancient. Something dangerous. "What is that?" one alien whispered, fear creeping into his voice. On the burning surface, soldiers and civilians alike looked to the sky, unsure of what was coming. Some prayed. Some wept. Some simply stood, ready for whatever fate awaited them. The Aegis pulsed. The ground shook. A blinding light began to rise from the earth, piercing the smoke-filled heavens. The darkest hour was not over. It was only beginning. The earth trembled. From its broken surface, a light rose into the sky, a light brighter than any weapon the galaxy had ever seen. The Aegis project had awakened. Alien fleets froze in orbit. Their weapons, once glowing with certainty, now flickered with unease. For centuries, they had crushed every species without fear. But now, for the first time, something made them hesitate. In the command bunker, General Kalen's face was lit by the glow. His voice was steady, but filled with awe. "It is alive," he whispered. Solara stood beside him, her hands clenched. "No," she said firmly. "It is hope." The Aegis was not a weapon of fire alone. It was a shield, a pulse of energy that spread across Earth like invisible armor. Alien blasts that once tore cities apart now shattered harmlessly against the barrier. Humanity had not built something to destroy. They had built something to survive. On the ground, people looked to the sky with wide eyes. For the first time in years, they saw alien fire stopped. They saw their planet breathe again. Children in shelters screamed with joy. Mothers hugged their sons and daughters. Soldiers, broken and bleeding, lifted their weapons high. Hope had returned. But the Aegis was not endless. The scientists knew its truth. Every second it burned, it consumed the life of its creators. Already, men and women in the laboratories collapsed, giving their final breath to keep the shield alive. They died with smiles, whispering, "For Earth, for humanity." Above the planet, the alien fleet grew desperate. They struck harder, pouring fire onto the shield, trying to break it. But every strike only made the humans fight harder. And then something happened the galaxy never expected. The freed species, the ones humanity had saved in the prison worlds, rose. Across distant stars, rebellions erupted. Chains shattered. Camps burned. Alien slaves turned their weapons not against humans, but against their masters. One message came through human channels. A reptilian voice, once broken, now thundered with pride. "You freed us when no one else dared. Now we fight beside you. Humanity does not stand alone." General Kalen listened as more voices filled the air. Dozens of species, once silent, now shouting the same words. For freedom, for humanity. Solara's eyes filled with tears. "We are not the last species standing in the mall," she whispered. "We are the first to rise, and others rise with us." The war changed. Human ships, once outnumbered, now fought alongside allies. Fleets of freed species joined the firestorm. Together, they struck the alien empire where it was weakest, its pride. Eric's name became a banner across the stars. Pilots painted it on their ships. Soldiers carved it into their armor. His sacrifice in the first battle became the symbol of the galaxy's rebellion. In orbit above Earth, the alien commanders grew restless. "This cannot be," one hissed. They were supposed to die, not multiply. But humanity had proven one truth: fire spreads. And now, that fire was a wildfire the Empire could not contain. On the battlefield, a young human soldier raised his weapon, standing shoulder to shoulder with a towering alien ally. The two looked at each other and nodded. Different species, different worlds, but the same fight. Together, they charged. The galaxy began to shift. What was once the darkest hour had become the dawn of resistance. But in the silence between battles, the mysterious signal pulsed again. Stronger now, louder, almost alive. The scientists stared at their machines with fear. "This is not just a message anymore," one whispered. "It feels like something is watching us." Solara stood on the command deck, looking at the stars. Her heart was strong, but her mind was filled with questions. "We fight the Empire," she said softly, "but something else waits in the dark. Something older, something greater." For now, humanity had risen. They were no longer prey. They were no longer alone. But beyond the stars, the final challenge prepared itself. The galaxy had seen the rise of humanity. Now, it would test if they could stand until the end. The galaxy burned. For weeks, the war raged across the stars. Humanity and their new allies struck again and again, pushing back against the empire that once seemed unbreakable. Chains shattered, worlds rose, and the fire of rebellion spread like a storm. But victory never comes without cost. Human soldiers fell by the thousands. Alien allies gave their lives beside them. Whole fleets vanished in battles where the sky itself turned into fire. And through it all, the mysterious signal pulsed stronger, like a drumbeat calling humanity to its final trial. The alien empire, wounded and humiliated, unleashed its last weapon, a colossal warship, older than any world, forged in the heart of a dying star. It was called Oblivion, larger than a moon, armed with weapons that could tear planets apart. The galaxy trembled when it appeared. In the command chamber on Oath, silence fell as a ship's shadow covered the stars. General Kalen's face hardened. "This is it," he said. "Their final hand. If we fall here, all is lost." Solara stepped forward. Her voice shook, but not with fear, with resolve. "Then we rise higher than ever. We fight not only for Earth, not only for humanity, but for every voice the Empire tried to silence. This is not their galaxy anymore. It belongs to all of us." Her words echoed across the fleets. Humans and aliens, side by side, prepared for the final battle. The clash began. The Oblivion unleashed its fury. Entire fleets vanished under its fire. Moons cracked, stars dimmed. It seemed unstoppable, a god of war made of steel. But humanity had never been unstoppable. They had been fragile, breakable, weak, and yet they always rose again. Eric's name echoed through the comms, a cry of courage. Pilots whispered it before charging into fire. Soldiers shouted it as they boarded enemy ships. His sacrifice had become eternal, carried in every heart. The Aegis shield, though weakened, still pulsed with life. Every second it burned, more scientists gave their last breath. They died willingly, smiling as they whispered, "For the future." In the middle of the chaos, humanity made their final move. A fleet of small fighters broke through the storm, weaving through fire, heading straight for the heart of the Oblivion. Among them flew Solara herself. "Today," she said through the comms, "we show the galaxy why humans are the last species standing. Not because we are strongest, not because we are smartest, but because we never stop fighting. We never stop believing. We never bow." The fighters struck. Explosions tore across the giant warship. Still, it fought back, its weapons tearing holes in the fleet. The battle became a storm of fire and blood. Then came the final sacrifice. General Kalen, his ship burning, drove it straight into the Oblivion's core. His last words echoed across every channel. "Carry the fire." The impact ripped through the warship. Its hull cracked, its weapons failed, and for the first time, the monster screamed. Human fighters poured in, blasting apart its heart. And then, with a blinding flash, the Oblivion exploded. A star was born in its death, a light so bright it could be seen across the galaxy. The Empire was broken, its fleet scattered, its generals fell silent. And in the ashes of that war, one truth was left standing. Humanity had not only survived, they had led the galaxy to freedom. On Earth, the people wept and cheered. Children looked to the stars with hope, not fear. Freed species rebuilt their worlds, but never forgot the humans who had given them courage. Solara, scarred but unbroken, stood before the galaxy. Her words were simple, yet eternal. "We are not the last species alive. But when the galaxy fell into silence, we stood. We are the last species standing." The galaxy listened, and it remembered. But in the deep void, far beyond the reach of war, the mysterious signal pulsed one last time. Stronger than ever, louder than ever, as if something else was waiting. Something older, something greater. The war was over. Humanity had won, but the story of mankind had only just begun.